Welcome in the live stream of the Eric Zane Show podcast. This time around, it comes to us from Blue Frost IT, 616-200-8550. Sign your company up on the dotted line, small or medium-sized businesses. Hey, if my little thing here, my little business can afford the IT support, you can too. Imagine you're there trying to do your thing for your small or medium-sized business, and all of a sudden, everything goes apeshit. And then you're like, oh, God, this is terrible. What do I do? I don't know. Stop making money is the first thing you do. And then, unpack your stuff, unhook it, take it to John's computer repair, whatever shithole you're going to go to. And, that's going to suck. Or you could even call Blue Frost IT. But again, if you're not up and running with your service contract, well, you're starting from scratch. Don't do that, all right? Reach out to Blue Frost IT. You absolutely need this. If you have a business with no IT support, don't fall victim. 616-200-8550 for Blue Frost IT. They also bring you my Twitter, the Periscope video there. Thank you. The Kent County Health Department. Oh, boy, 2020 is going to be a great year. Gah! Oh boy, it's been tough, but they've been, they've been working very, very hard trying to make it so that make the best out of this horrible situation that is 2020 with COVID. There's 4 COVID testing stations for you to go to in case you think there's something wrong. Drive up, take care of that. The vaccinations for your loved ones, your kids, you can get those for little or no cost through the Kent County Health Department. Not to mention WIC, Women, Infant, Children, that program to keep you fed. All right. All of these bits of information can be found at accesskent.com/health. Thank you, Kent County Health Department. Or just call them 616-632-7100. And then finally, striping parking lots as the temperature gets cold, and then they stripe the interior of workplaces. Shoreliners Striping online at shorelinersstriping.com. Well, look at this. November 3rd, 2020. We meet again on Election Day. The Eric Zane Show podcast begins now. Hey, I'm voting for Joe Biden. Hey, this is Blue State Rob. I'm voting for Joe Biden.
Hey, this is Blue State Rob, and you're listening to the Eric Zane Show podcast, a show hosted by a liberal Republican whose ancestry dates back to the small country of Armenia and fueled by bouts of anxiety and adult attention hyperactivity disorder, also known as ADHD.
Shut up.
It's not the best, it's still better than radio. Anyway, here's your host, Eric Zane.
Thank you very much, Blue State Rob. The Eric Zane Show podcast is now. Thanks for being part of it. Man, it was a frickin' windy day yesterday. Is there anything worse when the wind is blowing so hard that it actually moves you? Busting my ass on the track yesterday. I start running against the wind. I hit the portion of the track where the wind is right in my face. And I immediately slow down to like 15 minutes a mile, it seems like. And then around the corner, I get the wind in my back, and I'm running freaking faster than Steve Prefontaine. Maybe one of you get the Steve Prefontaine reference. I'm guessing Joe Morin would get the Prefontaine reference. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of what the way it was like here. Running around the track on the football field, it was a breath. It was something I needed, because when you're an egomaniac like me, when someone recognizes you or says your name, hey, Eric Zane, it's like, oh my God, I haven't been forgotten. And basically, since I've been relegated to doing shows from the room above my garage, that's been kind of like a kick in the face for your old pal Eric. I used to be somebody. Now I'm kind of a loser. So when you're running around the track and then the football comes bouncing right in front of you, and you actually pick it up on the fly, and then you hear, "Sorry, Zane, we were practicing onside kicks." I'm like, oh my God, somebody knows that I'm on the track. It was one of the coaches. And then I got that wind blowing right in my face. And I got to now throw the football. And I'm like, shit, this is going to be terrible. Now my legs are all warm, but my upper body isn't. And, I throw it and I look like a complete asshole and I can feel like all the muscles in my shoulders just kind of like screaming at me, like, what have you done to us? And I'm not kidding you. The ball went in the air less than 10 yards. And it just kind of, with no power behind it whatsoever, it just kind of like going, and then it just lands on the turf and rolls about 6 inches. And I would have had a better opportunity to actually get it to the guy if I kicked it to him. I felt so like I was in the deep end of the pool when there's 30 yards between me and this dude, and I've got the football up. I'm standing there like Brett Favre. Yeah, here it comes. I don't know why I said Brett Favre. Would have made more sense to say Joey Harrington or something like that. It was really, really disgusting. Holy crap. Election day. Wall-to-wall coverage with the news team. Not a chance. Well, I am going to talk about the election. As you know, this is a massive, massive day. It really, really bothers me how shows don't talk about this. I mean, what are you doing? What's going on? And when you turn on the radio on election day, if the show you're turning on won't actually express themselves because they're worried about people getting mad at them, my God, that is such a shit show. What are you doing? Why did you even get into this industry? Seriously, you're not doing anything. You're doing such a disservice to the world. And it's your absolute responsibility to express yourself the way it is and let the chips fall as they may. How could you possibly do this? Come on. That is the only thing compelling out of spoken word. When the thought process goes from whatever person's talking from their brain, filters through their mouth and comes out for the world, and you say, here's what I got. What do you think? That's great. That's absolutely the point. Okay? To sit there and just go, well, I don't want to make anyone mad, so I'm going to talk about, I don't know, whatever stupid thing you're talking about that is not what everyone else is talking about. Why bother? Take the day off. Oh, my God, it's terrible. And I say this without having any knowledge of any radio show what they did today, but I just know it. That industry has become such a skittish bunch of frightened little children, and I'm like, what? Oh God! Here you have your only opportunity to do something that would be compelling and interesting, and you're fucking missing it. Oh God! What the fuck is wrong with you? Get in there and fight. Shit, man, that's what it's all about. Of course, I do that. I don't have any problem with that, and I don't give a shit where the chips fall because I've got the same ramifications for me too. But you all know that when I deliver something, I do it with an idea behind it, and I say just as many nasty things about the guy that I'm voting for as the person that I'm not voting for. I think that they're both fucking morons, frankly, but one of them's going to win. So wall-to-wall coverage today, not really. Eminem throws his weight behind one of the candidates in kind of like his own special way. I cannot believe Eminem is 48 years old. You ever wonder what guys like Eminem or even Kid Rock, what they're going to do when they're 68 years old? Are they still going to be? Kid Rock has kind of become kind of like this folk songwriter, roots rock, soul-based songwriter. I don't know what the fuck he is. But if you're Eminem, the guy's like almost 50 years old. Do you keep doing that when you're 60, 70? Oh, God, that would be awkward. Coming up a little bit later on, in about 15 minutes, actually, I'll be joined by my pal, Brian Kelly. Now, Brian is a legend and one of the sweetest people that I know on the planet. He's also, and he will cringe when I say this, a world-famous photographer. Brian's work is seen all around the world, and he's right here in West Michigan. And he's been on this show before. And Brian has he started a podcast some time ago, and I really like it. It is called the Full Exposure Podcast with Brian Kelly. Get it? Full exposure. It's got that whole photography motif. I make fun of him and I call it the Shutterbug Podcast or the Polaroid Podcast just to troll him. But he's great, and he's an excellent interviewer. And he needs to be on my show today to talk about what he is doing tomorrow on the Full Exposure Podcast. So he's going to tell me about his upcoming show that he is releasing tomorrow. And he needs, because I think you're going to want to hear it. I really do. I think you're really going to be interested in what Brian has on Wednesday's show. And I'm going to let him tell you about it. He also has a spectacular book that he has worked very hard on. This is the type of book that if you live where I live, you would see this book on someone's coffee table, and it's the type of book I like, loaded with pictures. Well, he's a photographer, and I'm not going to steal any of the thunder about his book, but he's got a book, and you are going to want this book if you have any type of love or allegiance or interest in where you live. And about 40% of my audience that listens to my podcast is from this area. So, and if you're not, you might be like, what the fuck is that? But still, it's really, really cool, and he's worked very hard on it, and I love this guy. He's one of my favorite people on God's green earth. Oh, God, you ever, meet someone, and, right away you hit it off, but then even after months, weeks, years, you're like, yeah, but he's got something I don't love. I'm super picky about people that I hang out with, and I'm like, yeah, but shit, he's got that weirdo quirk. I don't know if I can handle that. I'm an idiot, so I do this. I'm like, oh God, shit, oh fuck, I can't hang out with this person. I'm such a weirdo. Oh my God, I haven't detected any weirdness from Brian. By the way, there are people right now who are listening. It's like, boy, what the fuck does he say about me? Holy shit. Don't worry about it. It's not you. Trust me. Brian will be joining me in a handful of minutes. I also have another guest today. What? Yes, seriously, I have a lot of guests today. It's my pal, Ryan Leister. You're like, who is Ryan Leister? Well, also local. If you've ever been to a Grand Rapids Griffins hockey game, there's two mascots. There's Griff, who's been around much longer than Finn. Finn is his sidekick on the tail of a comet. That's Ryan, okay? Ryan grew up in West Michigan, was a hell of an athlete, won a national championship as a baseball player when he was going to college, and then, he's progressed to having this career as a mascot, and he does other things too to move the meter. But he is making news because he was involved in an actual treasure hunt. And I didn't know about this, but he posted the pictures yesterday. There was a local jeweler who had retired, and he took a huge amount of his personal treasures that he'd collected over the years, and he hid them. Okay? And there was a way to do this, and I'll have Ryan explain everything, where you can sign up to be part of this treasure hunt. And son of a bitch, Ryan figured out the clues and found the treasure. What? And so this story was shopping its way around social media yesterday, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! He's got like all this gold and silver and riches and shit. He's sitting there. Seriously, it's like he's got a picture of him right where he found it, and there's all these crazy looking coins and old school, like a $500 bill, an old school $500 bill, and what looks like a fucking Stanley Cup. It's crazy. It's really incredible. I cannot wait to get him on. So there's that. Also, a new Karen who may actually be justified in her being an asshole. All right. I watched this and I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm kind of torn. I'm kind of with the Karen on this one. Okay. I'm reminding you to be a show contributor, okay, of this podcast. Eric at ericzaneshow.com. If you have a story that you want me to talk about, I would love to be able to check it out. So send it along. Send me a link, Eric at ericzaneshow.com. Always well worth it. I've got the Mario Flores Lakeshore team of Van Dyke Mortgage helping me. 231-332-6505. It has never been a better time to get a mortgage. They've been a sponsor on this show, and they've been reminding people that if you are a person who's gotten many mortgages, they definitely want to talk to you, or if this is your first time trying to get a mortgage, that also is right up their alley. Not every person who does mortgages is interested in the first timers because there's a little bit more work involved, and frankly, it isn't worth as much because your loans are they're entry-level loans, but that's fine. And he knows that. And he knows that if he helps you now, down the road, you will come back to him. Call Mario at 231-332-6505. I've got a fitness facility that helps out in Byron Center, Michigan. F45training.com, right where Family Fair there is, right there in that shopping plaza. F45, they're at half capacity right now. I just realized the dogs are not in the shot, so I must move them over. I will continue the ad. What's up, Daisy? So anyway, these guys right here, F45training.com. Cold front moving in. That's going to bring us F45training.com. Okay, so when you go to their website, F45, don't get down, Daisy. F45training.com/Byron Center. And you click like on the red where it says free trial, you're in for a week for free. So that's not bad, man. You can check it out. I do want you to call upon them and see what they have to offer at F45training.com. And just try it out, I mean, the hardest thing to do for anybody when it comes to fitness is getting their ass into the gym. And it's going to suck. There's no question. You're all worried what people are going to think about you. But for God's sake, health is so important. And you got to do everything you can to stay alive for as long as possible. And what's remarkable about that is how easy it is to lose sight of that. Everybody does it. But, I mean, come on. The people that love you want you to live for a long time. So I guess in a nutshell, go see your doctor once a year. Ladies, make sure you get your mammogram and take care of yourself, okay? Now, I'm not saying you got to be like freaking Tony Horton or anything like that, but at the same time, you must take care of yourself, and physical activity, exercise is key. F45training.com/Byron Center. Stella Fly Laura. I love her so much. She's going to be super happy at the fact that Brian Kelly is going to be on my show in mere moments. If your business needs help marketing itself, I guess, through social media, Stella Fly takes care of all of that for you. All right. Get more information at stellafly.com. S as in Sam, TELLA fly.com. Around the household. This was the discussion last night, and I have a hard and fast rule about politics. You don't discuss it. Now, if I'm talking with an adult, it's one thing. But if I'm talking with a woke teenager, that's an entirely different ball of wax, because basically when you're that young, all you do for most teenagers is you pal around with information and people that give you information that further your idea. So if people are going to throw out fucking not so based in fact facts, quote facts, you're going to use that to your advantage and try to express yourself. What I'm saying here is shut the fuck up about politics when you're around the Eric Zane Show podcast household. And I've made that very, very clear. I don't want to hear it. I don't want it's just not It's just not going to happen in the House. No, forget it. I've been down this road many, many times. In fact, yesterday it was like this. Wow, did you see that in some major cities, Dad? They're boarding up the windows in case of unrest. Now, what I should have done was said, yeah, and then walked out of the room. Did I? No. I said, right, because of all of the left-wing maniacs who are going to make it a shit show if Trump wins. She goes, well, I don't know about that. I go, I do. What are you talking about? I go, well, that's, these people have been emboldened that when things that they're pissed off about something in the past year, that's what they do. And they break windows, they start fires, they do all this shit. So this is going to be a great opportunity for them to do that again if Trump wins. Well, I don't think that's what's going to happen at all. If Biden wins, it's going to be all the Trump people that do that. I'm like, I don't know about that at all. I don't think that's the case. So we get into it right there. And then this starts to escalate. And I go, all right, time out. No, stop. I can't believe I let you do this to me. And I can't believe that I engaged you about this. Forget it. It's over. And then, okay, true. This is what teenage girls do. When the fight is over, after I have laid down the law, even though she's dropped but I'm 18, I can say what I want. And I'm like, well, yeah, I know you can. Well, then you can go because this is my house. You see, here, let me go get this thing called a deed that has my name on it. Okay, so that means, you know what that means? I'm the big swinging dick in this household. So shut up. So, she drops that on me, and I'm like, okay. And then this is what 18-year-old girls do. When you're walking away after you've extinguished it, I don't want to talk about it anymore. We're done talking about it. It's over. They'll get a last word in. Well, yeah, I know, but I was just saying, or something like that. It doesn't matter what it is. And it's always dripping with condescension and tone. And you just go, hey, what did I just say? Well, I didn't say anything. I was just saying. I go, no. I mean, I don't want to hear your voice. Stop talking. This is a fight, okay? And it's over. I don't want to discuss it with you or anyone because it always turns into a shit show. Inside of the house, there is no discussion of politics, okay? You want to talk about politics, get a couple of microphones, buy a house, set up a room in the house, look at a camera, and do a podcast, okay? That's it. No, I'm not discussing this with you. Holy shit. It's a good thing she's not listening to this show today because I've got a couple of clips that I want to play for you. And this first one is actually a few days old. It broke over the weekend. It is of candidate Biden, former Vice President Joe Biden. Can someone talk me through what's happening here? He's talking to a crowd of people, and something gets off the rails. Tell me what you think of this.
I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
Okay, so he was doing really well. I'll lead an effective, what did he say?
I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize.
I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize. That sounds great. He's emphatic. He's charged. He's yelling. Truth be told, I'm not kidding you. There's only like 500 people here, and he's got a microphone and speakers, so he doesn't really need to yell. But he's like, I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize social justice. I don't know, healthcare. But no.
True international effort to pressure.
We don't know what that is. I can't even say it.
True international effort to pressure.
True international effort to pressure.
True international effort to pressure.
What happened there? You see, I think that Biden should actually have a moment where when those campaign stops end, he needs to actually explain, hey, this is what I said there. This is what happened. Like, give me an explanation so that people don't think that you're incapacitated and that your brain is mush, you know?
True international effort to pressure.
Okay, so there's that. All right, I don't think that's a huge deal. If I'm voting for Biden, I'm voting for Biden. I look at that as just, I don't know, the teleprompter went haywire. Make something up. I have no idea. No big deal. Then he was speaking in Philadelphia. And Biden is talking, and he's doing this. This is what you do. You go there, say, hey, I love Philly, man. Philly's my home, where I met my wife. She's a Philly girl. You do your thing. You maybe talk about the local football team.
I was very happy to have the moniker of being known as Pennsylvania's third senator.
Nice.
I know Philadelphia well. I married a Philly girl, by the way.
Okay.
And by the way, I got my Eagles jacket on.
There you go. Yes, they love that. He looked down and said, by the way, I got my Eagles jacket on today. And you look, and he's got this logo, and it's a Delaware Blue Hens jacket. The college, Delaware, with the Blue Hens logo on it. And he looked right fucking at it. And it's like, fuck, man, how do you do this? This is why when Joe Rogan said in an earlier podcast, okay, now Joe Rogan wanted Bernie Sanders to win, but and he endorsed him. And then when that didn't work out, now he's like, fuck, who do I vote for? And I don't know if he ever came out and said it, but he did say, he goes, when it comes to Joe Biden, I feel like a guy who's like I'm walking into the woods on a dark, dark night with a flashlight whose battery is running out on the flashlight. That's what I feel like. Okay. So now what? What does that even mean? Trump comes to Michigan to end this thing. It is another super spreader event where thousands of people are packed in with their. I don't know how you can get so many dumb fucks in one place at one fucking time, but boy, do they come out. Son of a bitch. He's on the stage. From behind him, you see a army of people. Say what you will about Trump, but if Trump wins again, and he might, okay, those polls don't mean shit. I think that if you're the left, you're like, fuck, we are helpless. We are powerless against this hillbilly brigade that doesn't give a fuck about anything. So there they are, and so Trump has this gigantic super spreader event. Everybody goes home happy, probably coughing today. And here we are on election day. I remember it well 4 years ago, sitting here, and I've said it before, and I'll just say it again. I am voting for Trump, despite me saying terrible things about about both candidates, really. But I am going to vote for Trump because typically that is where my allegiance aligns. I rarely like anything that comes out of that fucker's mouth. I am a begrudging voter of him, and will vote that way today. You get out and vote your heart, please. I would love that. Very, very important that you get out and do your thing and vote today. There is nearly 100,000 Americans that have voted. I'm sorry, nearly 100 million Americans that have already voted. Absolutely huge. All right, I got to bring in my man, Brian Kelly. Hold on here. I don't have this ready. Pretty good chance that this phone is not going to work today, or this microphone. Come on. All right. That's going to fall. I can promise you that's going to fall. All right. Brian Kelly, full exposure podcast.
What's up, bro?
Good morning, young man. How are you?
I'm good. Let me turn you off. Hold on. There we go.
Yeah, you watching me rant and rave?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to start was sure to be a very calm Tuesday for the country.
Well, yeah, that's right. I like to call it as I see it. I'm voting for Trump, but he's crazy and an asshole. Biden, there's no way in hell I'm going to vote for that guy. So yeah, I kind of try to piss everybody off. I'll say, yeah, I'm going to vote for your guy, but he's a pain in the ass, and all you people are crazy for showing up at his super spreader events.
Well, there's plenty to point at that's not quite working in our democracy right now. So I'm with you on that.
Okay. Now, first of all, I want to talk about the book, because I'm really excited about your coffee table book. And that's what this is, correct?
It is a beautiful coffee table book. Yes, it is quite large. It's a book of aerial images of Grand Rapids and the surrounding areas. It's pretty much a city proper book. Like, not everything's downtown. I was really careful to get to other parts of the city and include, lots of cool places. But it was all shot this year in 2020 while my business was completely shut down.
Wow. Now, normally you would, constantly getting bids for whatever things that you would have to do photography shoots for, and that dried up so quickly. You're like, all this time, let's go out and do something.
Yeah, there's one other wrinkle to it, and that's exactly right. I mean, like everybody else, we couldn't work. We were sheltered in place at home in April and May. And there was one other wrinkle in that. My wife and daughter, my youngest daughter, Faith, who's 15, had some surgery on her lower legs, to both her legs. And she was going to have a very complicated rehab, like at Mary Free Bed Rehabilitation Hospital. And basically what happened, the long story short, is we checked her in. My wife and I checked her in to start her rehab, which would be inpatient. She was going to stay at the hospital for 6 weeks.
Uh-huh.
And then COVID hit, and they didn't allow visitors or anything. So we made this choice that my wife would stay in the hospital with my daughter, Faith, 24/7. I couldn't visit them. Oh. And I would stay home with my older kids, Hannah and Maddie, who were college age and kind of trying to finish out their semesters. But I was sort of had this weird disconnect of just my wife and my youngest daughter are at Mary Free Bed. I can't see them. I can FaceTime with them, but I can't physically see them. And it was a little bit stressful. So I started to fly my drone a lot, just as a way to relax. And I wasn't thinking about making a book. I didn't think about making a book for months. But I would just get up in the morning and fly at sunrise, and then I'd fly at sunset. And it was just the most relaxing thing. And then eventually, like maybe end of June, first part of July, I thought, I think I should do a coffee table book of Grand Rapids. I don't think there's ever been a photo book or a coffee table book dedicated to aerial images of our city. And honestly, I couldn't even remember the last time there was kind of like a really cool photo book that you'd see at somebody's office or anything. So I thought it might be a good time. And I had lots of other time because there was no other business going on.
Right.
But that's sort of the backstory of how it was born. And you're right. I wouldn't have had time to take on a project like this had COVID not really, just ground everything to a halt.
I'm always really impressed when, something as adverse as that. I mean, you have a double whammy there on a personal level, a triple whammy. You have a child who is having a very, very serious procedure done, and it's going to take some extensive work to get the child to where she needs to be. And then the being away from loved ones. That's another gigantic thing. And then, oh, by the way, your livelihood just dried up. So, I mean, this is a nightmare scenario for most people. And here you are making a book. That's exceptional. That's why I love you so much, because you always just kind of roll out of it. And I'm very, very impressed with people that do that,
Well, I appreciate that. It was kind of the act of beginning to fly a lot was kind of a selfish thing, in terms of, I don't know if it was selfish, but it was just very for a self-care, relieve my own stress, get outside of my own head. And there's something about flying the drone when you're watching you get a live camera up on either your phone or the controller. You can see what the drone sees from way up there.
Right.
And as you're flying around, it's just this peaceful sort of slow motion stuff. And then I started to see the city in a entirely different perspective. And that's kind of what the images I chose from the book to put in the book are kind of some unexpected twists on places you've seen a million times, or maybe you take it for granted, but it's got some really cool, unusual perspectives. I don't think they've been seen before, because a drone can go places that an airplane can't take you to fly if you're going to do like a aerial flight in an airplane, or same with a helicopter. I mean, drones see things unless you're crashing in a helicopter. That's about your only opportunity to see what a drone can see. But yeah, it was just fun, and it was a way to self-medicate. And then eventually my brain got around to that entrepreneurial side. I like how you've called me in the past a type B personality, and we'll talk about that. But like eventually my brain got around to like, oh, maybe there's something I can do here entrepreneurially and make a coffee table book and see if people like it. And if so, then we'll have this other little side part of my business. But yeah, the type B was definitely in charge there for a while, until I started to amass hundreds and hundreds of photos. And then I was like, wow, this is cool.
In any of the drone activity, were you ever like by some of those taller buildings that have apartments, and you saw like a nude chick? Has that ever, or a nude dude? Has it ever happened as you were with the drone?
I had to be careful, because there's a couple of shots in the book, and I did have to look through them, not from a voyeuristic thing, but there's a couple of abstractions of a few of the buildings that are just windows. And I was looking at it like a grid as a graphical pattern, and I was like, oh, I better make sure that there's no one peering out with their morning coffee, just buck naked looking at the sun.
Something that something that you wouldn't notice when it's unless you have like an eyepiece looking down on it, and then all of a sudden, there's a muff right there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the one thing that's cool about looking at the book and then seeing it in the printed form, and it's a pretty large coffee table book. It's 13 inches by 11 inches. And then when you open the book, that means some of the full page spreads and image might be 26 inches across. And even as I continue to look through the book, every few days I'll look through it again, because it's still new and something I'm proud of. But I'll notice something I never noticed when I was flying. I'll notice something I never noticed when I was editing the photos in Photoshop or however in Lightroom. And so there's lots to go back to and revisit. And there's always a new discovery of a jogger or somebody small, or maybe there was actually like somebody living downtown, like a homeless person in an encampment, but you didn't notice it from up high. It just looked beautiful, and then you start to investigate closer, and it's like, well, there's two realities here. The city's beautiful, but we still have some problems. And it was just it's a really fun thing. And on top of that, the book itself, it's a hardcover. It's 104 pages. There's 70 photographs in the book that take you on a tour all over Grand Rapids. And it's just the quality of it. I've collected coffee table books my whole career. I just love them. And I have my wife, I just got 3 arrived the other day from a photographer I really like. And she's like, when are you going to stop collecting books? And she goes, you going to add these to the pile? And I said, yeah, I guess so. But so I'm kind of a nerd about the print quality, the page paper quality, the hardcovers, and this book really knocks it out of the park. We didn't spare any expense in terms of making sure Grand Rapids looked fantastic. And so, yeah, it was fun.
Did you was it all Grand Rapids, or did you go up to like Cedar Springs and get somebody who has like a bus on their front lawn and a washer and dryer?
No, it's all pretty much Grand Rapids centric. I was, but I did get, on the west side, the northeast side, Frederick Meyer Gardens, which some of the really spectacular images in the book. Frederick Meyer Gardens, I asked for special permission to fly over there because I didn't want my drone to get shot down by security or something. Okay. But they're very tight over there. Just
Yeah.
kidding. I have no idea. But I asked for permit. There's a really cool way to revisit a place maybe many of us have been lots of times. There's stuff from the southeast side, and then there's, of course, the downtown centric area with the river and bridges and the skyscrapers.
Nice. Brian, so when will or is it available now for people to actually check this out? I would like people to get this.
Yeah, if you go to arielgrandrapids.com, that's AERIAL grandrapids.com, you can pre-order the book, and it'll ship in mid-December. They're printed. I got 4 advanced copies not too long ago, and the book is just beautiful. So I was able to do a final press check with the actual physical book.
Right.
And then they'll be here and ready to ship out mid-December. But there's a limited quantity, and that might sound like a sales pitch, but the best way to ensure you get a copy is to just pre-order it now through the website.
Gotcha.
And there's even ways you can indicate to me in the checkout process if you want the book dedicated to, hey, Tom, or hey, Lori, or whoever it is, I will write and personally sign.
Nice.
There's no extra charge for that.
Excellent.
So I can do a dedication. So arielgrandrapids.com is the place to do it. And you can also buy prints, enlargements from the book through that site as well.
Oh, that's exciting, man. Very fun. I'm very happy that you were able to do the old make lemonade, and that's excellent. arielgrandrapids.com. It would make a wonderful gift for the holidays and so on. And so if anybody's interested in that, definitely do that. But I wanted to take care of that. And I also wanted to talk about you on the Full Exposure podcast. Now, I haven't said anything about tomorrow's episode. No one has any idea about who the guest is going to be. Can you please share that with the audience as to who is going to be on tomorrow's release of the Full Exposure podcast?
It's a very important guest, especially for this time in our lives. It's a legend in the community, a legend just through and through.
Tony Gates.
And it was a huge get. This was a huge get, and I don't know how we pulled it off, but we were able to book Eric Zane of the Eric Zane podcast and the podcast show. And I don't even know, is it called Eric Zane Podcast Show, or is it Eric Zane Podcast?
Close.
And then a show, or is it a broadcast? I don't understand anymore.
The first one was closest. It's Eric Zane Show Podcast.
Eric Zane Show Podcast.
Yes.
It's not the podcast show.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
You are.
All right,
we'll
get that straightened out. But
that's all right.
Our episode will go live tomorrow morning, and people can listen to our conversation. In fact, you were so good, I had you in twice to do one episode.
Right.
I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, this has been a labor of love. We go back over 1 year. Well, it was July of last year, not this most recent July, the July before that. Okay. And we sat down and you and I recorded because if people don't know, the way Brian does his podcast is really exceptional because he invites people in and then they spend time, like Brian spent a lot of time taking pictures of my ugly face, and he does a photo shoot. And then after the photo shoot, that's kind of like works out as a great icebreaker. Not that you and I needed an icebreaker. But then the actual podcast takes place, and it's also video recorded, and there are snippets that are available for people to see on the video on Brian's website. So he really does a hell of a job, and it's a unique way to do it because I don't know of any other podcast that does something so extensive. So that was the plan, but then it didn't go quite as we planned because that audio, no one ever heard it. Brian, tell them what happened again.
I don't know. It was a crazy thing. I have a mixer I've seen on your live stream. I have like one of those microphone mixers. It looks very similar to yours.
Yes.
But I don't know what happened. And often when I record for the podcast, because as you mentioned, it's a bit of a machine to boot up. I'm going to do a photo shoot with each guest. Then we're going to sit down, and then we're going to have 3 video cameras recording our conversation. I usually try to shoot 2 episodes in one day, and I need help, and I need an assistant to help me run the cameras and things. So just out of efficiency and all that, I try to get 2 episodes in one day. Well, somehow, Eric, as you painfully realized later when I sheepishly admitted to you, I disappeared for a while. I left the country because I was afraid. But I don't know. I played the audio back after the next day or something just to make sure I had exported it correctly.
Yeah.
And it sounded kind of, the entire conversation sounded exactly like this. For like an hour and a half. It was terrible. So I don't know. There was a button pushed on my mixer board that didn't allow our microphones to get recorded.
Okay. So yeah, it was a mess. And I remember you broke the news to me and I was like, oh God, that isn't true. He's lying. It just sucks so bad. He's trying to get out of it. But you were kind enough to want to do it again.
Well, I had the photos, Eric. What else was I going to do?
Yes.
I mean, I couldn't let those just sit in the hard drive.
Okay.
I mean, no, we had a great cracking conversation. I'd been on your podcast maybe a month or two before that. We were both sort of starting out that year, I think.
Yeah.
And you had launched in January or something, and I had launched in March or April of that year, and then we talked in June, and we're both these two green-eyed podcasters, or young little bucks. And then it took a whole year to re-record the conversation, but now I'm pleased to get it out. I edited it yesterday, and it sounds great, and we cover a lot of cool stuff. And just the arc of your career. We talk about your
downward arc, downward arc,
all kinds.
Downward arc of the career.
Well, maybe part of the arc does have a trajectory up, and most arcs do come back down somehow. So no, but it's a really good conversation. We talk about your commitment to organ donation and some really heartfelt things in there. So I think we get to a good spot with it, and it'll be live tomorrow. You can go to Full Exposure Podcast on any of podcast players, or you can go to fullexposurepodcast.com. Then you can see the pictures of Eric.
Yes.
You can see video excerpts, and you can also listen and stream the whole audio all from Eric's episode page at fullexposurepodcast.com.
It's really great because I'm looking at this long list of people that have been on your show, and it's just great because you can click on the pictures and do all the things like you talked about, and it's kind of cool that it's kind of good that we didn't get that first podcast off the ground because of the organ donation thing, and we when I talked with you a few months ago, we weren't as far along, obviously, as we are right now on the precipice of actually doing it, under 1 month away. And you kind of allude to that, I'm sure, in the intro. And just, it's amazing how much life has happened since we actually recorded that. It's just, it's some good, some bad, some happy, some sad. I mean, it's really incredible.
My intent is normally to get the conversations out within a couple of weeks of when we record them. But in your case, we talked in June. At that point, I had pretty much decided to go full steam ahead on creating this coffee table book. So then I was flying all the time in the rest of June and July, and then we got into book design and had to rush the book in to try to get them before the holidays.
Right.
So there was a lot of bells and whistles, and then my business started to pick back up, and I just sort of set the podcast on the back burner for a minute. But you're absolutely right. I mean, I was able to record in the intro because I talked to you just a few days ago to get an update on a few things, so I could do some show notes and orient the listener. But it's what's happening now with the big update that you gave me with in regard to your kidney transplant story. It's fantastic, and it's a full thing. But yeah, a lot happens in a short period of time.
I'll say this about your podcast. Well, I'll say a lot. It reminds me of, like a lot of times might see on a podcast, like let's say Rogan, he has somebody and you have no idea who it is that he's interviewing, but somehow you trust that it's going to be good because he's not just going to throw some schmuck up there. And he does a very good job of pulling things out of people. I think your podcast is a lot like that because I can't tell you how many times I've listened to your podcast and been introduced to people that I didn't know who those people were. And then when I got done listening to it, I was like, son of a bitch, man, that was a great get. That was a great conversation. My God, I'm really, really happy with what I just spent my time listening to. And time and again, you've done that on the podcast. It's been really, really good.
Well, thank you. And you were very gracious early on. I think you called me. We talk about this in the episode too, but you called me. I was only maybe 5 or 10 episodes in, and I got this call, and I'll save the full story. You'll have to listen to the episode tomorrow when it launches, but you had called me out of the blue, and I was in a very unusual place when I picked up your phone call. And I thought, well, should I take Eric Zane's call right now? And I was sort of like and then I took it, and it was just you showing me love for the podcast, and you were it was really an interesting time, because most podcasts, when they start, I think the statistic is that they go like 6 or 8 episodes and then they die. No one does them anymore because they don't get traction or whatever. And I was kind of in that still finding my way mode, and you were so generous to just just call me out of the blue, dude, and just say, I love your podcast, you got to keep going. And then I did that, and I kept going, and then got a Metro Health, University of Michigan Health approached me about doing some sponsorship, which kind of came out of the blue. And I thought, okay, well, here's another thing I have some horsepower behind that I can play with. So now it's just, as you said, trying to, I'm really concerned about, or really focused on trying to just book guests that I think we're going to have a good conversation, going to get to some meat of our lives and how we got here. And many of the people we have on the podcast are interesting people by virtue of what they do. But these people are so talented in whatever field they're in. They could be really doing anything. So why are we spending our lives doing 12 to 15 hours or 8 hours a day or whatever? Why are we doing this? And then everyone has overcome adversity and had trauma in their lives in some ways. And so it'll dip in and out of a lot of different things. And I try to get out of the way and just let people know the guest and let their voice speak for themselves. But
I have two favorites. I have two favorites, and they were very early. And the one that the all-time, I tell you what, Bridget Clark Whitney of Kids Food Basket, that opened up doors for me, because I was like, well, I gotta be in this lady's orbit. She's too much of a dynamo to not be. I mean, seriously,
she's a firecracker.
Whoa,
for sure.
What
and
a just ball breaker.
Yeah, and really smart. It just I'm not even using the right words. To say she's smart and all this stuff, but like, she has a flame in her that is just. You got to buckle up, because you're ready to take on some of the world's hunger problems in our countries, our regions. You want to get right in the trenches with her, and she's fantastic and just a wonderful person.
She's the type of person that when she gets done talking, you feel like running through a wall. Just like that type of motivational. It's like, son of a bitch, man, I got to get my ass in gear. I got to help these people. I got to do this. She is so great at that. And then the all-time favorite is a person I had no idea who this person was, and it is Gracie Harkema. At the time, she was with Founders Brewing, and has since left there and had a career change. But that interview about her story, oh my God, when she was from the People's how do you say it? People's Republic of Congo.
Is Republic of Congo, and I'll get it wrong. You can't say the Congo. I forget how it is.
I think you have to say the
People's Republic of Congo.
I think Democratic has to be in there too. Democratic People's Republic of Congo or something like that. But amazing story how she came to the U.S., how she came to West Michigan, and what she does for a living, and then
and how she found her mother. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's definitely something you can get lost in at fullexposurepodcast.com. Well, man, I'm thank you for doing this, because I know a lot of people love your show, Brian, just because you're you, and you do an excellent job. I look up to you in a lot of ways, and I'm like, son of a bitch, this guy's got it, and I'm jealous,
Well, you're being way too generous, because but I put it on. I point it all back to the guests. I think a part of the part of like the secret sauce of the podcast, if there is one, is that I believe that portraiture, when I take somebody's portrait in the studio or anywhere, it doesn't matter, it could be at your house or at your place of business, you're a little bit vulnerable as the subject. You don't feel like, nobody really loves to be photographed. So
Right.
there's a point where, there has to be this exchange of trust where if I'm taking your photo, that you're going to show me something other than this smiley veneer we all did all through our class photos, all through high school and junior high and stuff. So to get to something authentic, it takes a minute. And then it's the same in a conversation, and you do this on your podcast too. I mean, it takes a while to get to something where we kind of both drop our guards and then get into something that feels really real and authentic. So it's been fun to sort of take something I do professionally every day and spin that into a conversation, but it's all related. Like I start with a portrait, and then the conversation that we're having becomes kind of abstractly another type of a portrait of a person. So tomorrow, when I release your episode, you'll see a different portrait of Eric than maybe you get while you're just yelling and screaming all morning on the Eric Zane show podcast or podcast show or whatever it is.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I've always loved interview type of podcasts. I love doing interviews. I don't do them all the time. I'd like to do them more and more on my show, like as part of the show, like in between time when I'm yelling at people. I think ultimately I would love to have a guest on every single show. But again,
as soon as the COVID stuff, I mean, I'd love to come up to your fan studio, that they built for you. And then it's you meander through your master bedroom to get up there. And then there's
dogs.
There's dogs and bulldogs. It's crazy to get up there, but it's sure a good time. But no, I think you're a great interviewer. Just have a great instinct. But COVID sort of slowed down some of the rhythm of my podcast this year because there was a big chunk of the spring and into the summer that we didn't do a lot of podcasts because I had to bring people into the studio to do the photo shoot. Yeah. So it took us a minute to figure it out.
I totally understand. Well, listen, ArielGrandRapids.com, ladies and gentlemen. Ariel Grand Rapids, AERIAL, GrandRapids.com. For Brian's coffee table book, go and check it out. Take a look at how the hardcover looks and pre-order it. And then you can get it in time for Christmas. And then check out the Full Exposure Podcast online at fullexposurepodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts. Brian, I thank you so much, and happy Election Day.
Good to see you, buddy. And thank you very much for everything. I really appreciate you as a friend and respect what you're doing on the grind there, getting your podcast out into the world. It's been fun to see it grow.
I love it. And thank you so much, Brian. I'll talk to you very soon.
Later, man.
All right, buddy. There you go, Brian Kelly. Oh, my God. Love that guy so much. Every time I talk to him, I'm like, it's like I've known him for 50 years. Hang on, I got to text Leister. I'll be calling you in a second. Stand by. He's probably sleeping. All right. God, that was something. All right, so that's something else to add to your listening. Well, you should always listen to Brian's podcast, and not seriously. What it would involve with if you have never heard him, I suggest starting with those two that I had mentioned, Gracie Harkema and Bridget Clark Whitney. Also, Dave Dyer was a great one. And also the, let's see, where was it? Hold on a second here. I'm confused. Brian Vander Ark was another awesome one. Did you see me? I think I had a stroke there. Adrian A.B. Butler is another good one. I see Michelle McCormick had extensions. Wow, Michelle McCormick really looks young here. Oh, my God, that can't be her real hair. If it is, it's absolutely stunning. Holy shit. Look at her hair. She looks like she's 25 years old. Son of a bitch. How does she do that? Oh, well. All right, fullexposurepodcast.com. I'm going to get to Ryan coming up next about Ryan sought the treasure. And seriously, when you hear this story, you're not going to believe it. Ryan Leister, who plays the part of Finn for the Grand Rapids Griffins, found a freaking treasure worth thousands of dollars. Reminder to call upon A&E Heating and Cooling for a furnace tune-up, 616-516-8579. If your furnace goes kaput, it's time to install a new 96%er. That means a 96 and up % efficient furnace. Okay, when you do that, DTE gives you $450. They love the fact that you are installing a high efficiency furnace, a Comfort Maker brand of furnace and air conditioners. Thank you, A&E Heating and Cooling, online at aeheatingcooling.net. Again, just $79 to get that furnace tuned up. Don't just throw that thing on as the temperatures fall. You need it looked at every single year. Your furnace needs to be looked at and tuned up, and so does your air conditioning. 616-516-8579. Call Joe Martinez today. The flooring installation comes to us from Bennett Flooring Installation. 616-318-0167. Yeah, Zane told me to call you. Can you give us an estimate? Yeah, sure. I'll be over tomorrow at 3 o'clock. All right, this is the room. Okay, they're going to measure it. They're going to say, what do you want installed here? You're going to be like, carpet. I have it all picked out. I know exactly what I want. Okay, it's going to cost this much to install it. We are your installers. That's how you do it. If you go ahead and go to whatever store and they tell you, oh, yeah, it's free installation. Trust me, you're paying for it somehow. Call upon Bennett Flooring Installation. It's like doing it yourself, for God's sake, minus the stress. 616-318-0167. Call upon them today. And A&D Cleaning. Get a clean home today, either once one-off, once a week cleaning, once a month, doesn't matter. Call Amy Porter today at 616-550-3644 for A&D Cleaning. All right, my next guest, I sound like David Letterman. My next guest needs no introduction. This is Ryan Leister. He plays Finn for the Grand Rapids Griffins. I just sent him a text.
Hello.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Hey, good, Eric. How you doing?
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I've always wanted to be on your show. It's always been a dream of mine.
You know, you were on Instagram Instant Trivia last week.
Yes. Instant Trivia doesn't count for me. It's
No,
like
it
getting
doesn't.
Upper Bowl seats of the game.
That was kind of like warming you up for this show. So, I mean,
yeah, no, I like this.
So you of course play Finn, the mascot for the Grand Rapids Griffins. You have for many, many years, and I'll probably talk more about that in a little bit. But what caught my attention yesterday was I walked into the kitchen and Diana says, "So, did you hear that story some time ago about a local jeweler who was getting out of the business, and he took a ton of treasure and hid it in different parts of the area, and if people, there's clues to finding the treasure. We know who found the treasure." And I go, "Oh yeah, who?" And she shows me a picture of you sitting next to a bunch of it looked like a pirate's booty, with all these crazy looking coins and currency, and looks like fine sterling silver and gold and diamonds. I mean, that's what it was, right?
Yes, I bought a ticket for this treasure quest that Johnny Perry put on for JW Jeweler that went out of business during COVID, and it's family owned for years. And he put everything on that was on display and in his vault, and he hid it around 8 different parks in Michigan. And he sold tickets to these treasure quests. And once you get a ticket, you get on this like Facebook page where he invites you, and you got to be a member, and then he gives you a riddle that you have to solve. And we ended up solving it and found all the treasure and all the booty. X marks the spot, Eric, and that's I saw this X in the woods by a fen that the riddle kind of was down towards, and I did a double take and pulled out the X, and amongst broken timber as part of the riddle is in a cavity. So this tree had fallen, and he pieced from the scraps of broken tree that fell, he pieced it back together and put this X in it and put this silver urn or chalice behind this cavity. Once I pulled that away, I was in awe. I was like, is this it? Is this another geocache, or is this really the thing?
Okay.
I found a bunch of geocaches out there, and I was like heartbroken a couple times.
Okay, so those are the geocaches, the things people lay out there for other people to find. They, it's like a little.
Yeah, just saying that you've been there and signed this book, and here's the put something in, take something out, or however it works.
Yeah, and so you thought, it's another one of those stupid things, but it actually was the actual treasure. Can you go through what all was in that spot for us, please, Ryan?
What's that?
Can you go through all of the things that were in the spot that you found?
Yes, in the pot there was 7 rings. You talk about the booty?
Yeah.
There was 7 rings. There was 3 gold rings with gemstones in it. 1 with a gemstone and rubies in it, and then another ring was like a pieced together wedding ring. So that was pretty cool. My mom ended up showing me how to do that. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm not married, Eric.
Yeah, of course.
So then there was 3 silver rings that were wedding bands. One had like a April birthstone in it that was the size of like a cuticle on a thumb. It was just huge.
Wow. Okay.
There's 21 old coins. The 2 oldest were 1885 and 1887. There was like a 1 ounce silver Mexican coin in there. There's a Canadian silver coin in there. And then to top it off, like, this is why I wanted to find this treasure, because right when I opened the lid, I knew it was real, because there was a $500 bill just looking right at me.
Wow.
William McKinley is on the $500 bill.
Yeah,
if you want to know.
I was going to ask you. I've never seen, most people haven't seen a $500 bill ever, and you have it, and it was in a special case. It was like encased in plastic, wasn't it?
Yep, it was in a plastic sleeve holding it, and then inside the chalice, the silver chalice, there was a plastic bag with everything else inside of it, so it was covered really well. It was only out there for 2.5, 3 days, so.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like it had been there for an extensive amount of time, and then
Nope,
the
it started on Halloween. Yep, it started on Halloween, and then it sits there until somebody finds it. Like, there's no designated start or like end date, but it's until somebody finds it. So it could have been like, I think Wichita County one is still going on at 16 days in Michigan. So there's one that's still going on, but it's just, this was a vague clue. It's like the riddle was, by means of the creek flow into the land near the stretch. The woodland shelter found, time to descend in a cavity amongst broken timber near the fen. So that's the riddle that we had to solve.
Wow. I wouldn't even be able to begin to think that. You must really know the area. Because you have to narrow it down. What was the first thing that led you to that general area? Of that clue, what led you to the general area?
We checked a lot of areas first, because I was my friends Matt and Zach and Josh, and we were all just kind of keen in on what would lead us to it. And we thought, river flowing into the land. So we checked at different parts. And then what seemed to be right with us, because I thought it was a play on words, I'm like, by means of a creek flowing to the land. It's like, what if they're talking about like Mill Creek or Honey Creek? So we ended up, the Seidman Park is where we were going, and it was right along Honey Creek. So I'm like, dude, this has to be where it's at. This is like perfect. And then we followed the trail in, and the woodland shelter, we were looking for like a shack or something that you could get away, out of the elements, but it was like the hole in the tree, like what I was sitting in, that was like the woodland shelter, and like a crevice in the tree.
So
we just followed that down to the swamp, and then that's basically where it was. I sat there, and as soon as I found, I looked at where he was sitting and when he placed this, and it was an amazing view, Eric. It was just peaceful, and I'm just like, this is what he wanted for people to do.
So you're starting to get a buzz. The excitement is building that you're getting warm, right? You had to have felt that as time was passing during the day.
Yes, like every place that we looked where this tree and timber were down, and it's like, oh my gosh, this could be it. Like, you don't know how the adrenaline is. Like, okay, you got other people that you're seeing, because there's like 5,000 people that are all over Kent County looking for this thing. Maybe more. There's probably even more. I don't know. But so, like, my friends wanted to check another place because they knew of a woodland shelter, and they're up on top of the ravine trying to chase it down and look up further. And I'm like, no, I want to check this one last tree over here. And I'm glad I did, because that's right where it was. They were trying to get me out of there. And I was like, no, I want to check this one time. I'm here. I got to cross it off.
You mentioned the other pals that were with you. Is this something that you share with them?
Yeah, it's like it was a team. Like I bought the ticket for this quest, and like we can have team members. So they were on my team, and I went through a couple parks. They went through a couple parks, and kind of just looked up maps and trails that would lead us, and what would kind of be the clues. So we all kind of did a little part, but yeah, splitting it. Since I bought the ticket, I'll get 50, maybe 55%, but the other guy will get pretty good close to amount.
How much was the ticket?
It was $60.
That's not bad at all. What a fun thing. Holy shit. I wish I'd have done this, but if I'd have gotten the ticket, I would have just forgotten about it, and nothing would have happened.
You would have went to all the parks, and then you seen a dog park, and you would have just stayed there all day. I know you.
Yeah, of course. Now, do you guys plan on keeping these treasures or selling them? What is the plan? Have you gotten that far?
We've talked about it a lot. We kind of want to go out and see what it's worth, what all the values are. The guy that put it on, Johnny, he's got a dinner for us. Like he's gonna take us out to dinner and talk to us and go through it. Because I believe that you can sell it back to him, because he's got like a one-time price. The other, I don't know if I want to tell you the price. So the last price for the last county that treasure was around $15,000 that they sold it back to him for.
Wow, man, that is really cool. Wait, can you say again the name of that jeweler that went out of business? I didn't quite catch it.
JW Jeweler.
And that's a Grand Rapids local mom and pop.
Yeah, I believe they're Grand Rapids based, but I believe they lived somewhere else.
Wow, man.
But yeah, their parents started it up. His grandpa started it up back in the day, and right when we opened, he left us a note, which was pretty cool. It said congrats, and and he gave us a little backstory about how the $500 bill got into his possession. He said somebody gave it as a down payment on an engagement ring for his wife 23 years ago. So it's been in our family and all this. So it was really a nice guy. I can't wait to meet him. Right when he started this quest, I thought he was a really down-to-earth, nice guy anyway. So I was like, man, this guy would be a nice guy to meet.
Oh, that's really interesting.
I'm glad it happened to be that way.
So all of this stuff came out of the vault that they kind of just established, and they just hung on to these things. It wasn't like it was merchandise that was readily available to the public. It was all their personal, valuable possessions.
Yep. And then some of the stuff was the rings were in the display case. In their store, but a lot of the stuff came from the vault from this one, I believe.
Gotcha. Man, I cannot imagine that excitement, the child, because I would be like when you were a little kid and you'd find something, as you're walking around trying to piece this together, and you're getting an idea that you're in the ballpark. I mean, I would have freaking lost my mind right there. And then I would have been so paranoid that somebody else was going to club me or something like that. I would have been like, what the fuck, reaching for my pistol.
You had every thought that was going through my mind. You nailed it right there, man. It was to a T. Oh my gosh, what do I do? I just found this. And I was telling them it was like winning a national championship in college for me. It was that much of excitement where you can't put into words. You just have to take it all in and absorb it all. There's nothing that you can say is a good expression.
Right.
There's nothing. And
they're
like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I kind of want to get out of here. I don't want anybody to steal my shit.
Yes. There was a scene in Shawshank Redemption near the end when Andy fled to Mexico, and he gave Red instructions about where to go to find the treasure.
Say Guantanamo.
Yes. Oh my God.
Guantanamo.
And he found the tree. You remember that in Red? He pulled it. He moved the rock that looked like it was. It shouldn't have been there. And then he moved it. And then he started looking around like, "Holy fuck, man! Who's here?" Oh man.
Yeah, what's going on? Who's watching me?
Oh Jesus. Yeah. That is classic. Was anyone else near you? Any of the other competitors that you didn't know? Were they actually getting close, Ryan?
No, they were not near us at all. It was. We walked in the trail, and there's a bunch of cars parked, but the trails are they go for a ways. But there was nobody, and I start yelling, and I'm just trying to keep it down. And all of a sudden, my buddy Matt just was like, "Wah!" And I'm like, "Why not? Just yell."
Yeah, I would have been like, if you'd have noticed any of those other nerds looking around, say, "Fuck you, we got the Stanley Cup."
I'm just gonna sell it to the AHL because you know how our Calder Cup is bent. This is perfect topper for him.
I know it. Oh my God. All right. Hey, the rumor on the street is that we're going to be going back to the rink for hockey on February 5. Have you heard that?
Yes, I did hear that, and I'm excited about it. I don't know what the fans are going to be like, but hopefully they at least let like 200 to 300 people in them. You know, it sucks that there's not that many, but it's a start.
It is a start, and hopefully that'll be, when we plug back into our culture of where we live. It'll help kind of put things in place, and it'll maybe one day just kind of get back to normal. I don't know about you, Ryan, but I really don't plan on taking anything for granted going forward as COVID works its way through, and then because one day it is going to end, and we will be able to get back to doing the things that we love to do. I am never ever going to take anything for granted again when it comes to the freedom without a concern about getting sick to actually go out and do things.
You know, exactly. I mean, this is the time that's taught me to be around family. Like, you're not guaranteed all this time with your family. You know, my mom and dad, and I've been hanging out with them and my cousins and grandma. It's brought me closer to them. So, in a sense, it does suck, but in a way, it's how you make it,
All right. You know what I did, and you're absolutely right. I think that you describing that whole family thing is what everybody should do, plug into that whole system. So that's very cool that you would do that. That makes perfect sense. When I was trying to reach out to you, I called one of the 8 phone numbers that I have for you, and I got someone from your old work. Some guy picks it up, and he goes, "Hey, Zane."
And that was Nick, probably. He was on the old phone still.
And I go, "Hey, man, is this Ryan?" He goes, "No." I go, "Well, where the fuck Ryan?" He goes, "He didn't work here anymore."
yeah, they let me go a little bit ago, about a year and a half. So but hey, I've just been blessed ever since. So it's been a blessing in disguise, Eric.
All right, boy. Hey, man, I really appreciate the time. Congrats. I'm glad you were able to discover that and feel that wonderful emotion of when you found it. But, I'll be seeing you very soon, okay?
Yes, and good luck with you. You'll be in my prayers too, coming up with what you got going on, man.
Oh, thank you. You're talking about yeah, that's right. We talked a little bit about transplant stuff, about kidney donation. Yes.
Yes, sir. That's incredible, man. I love you for that. That's just more than anything anybody could ever do. That's just respect you, man. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you. Like I told you yesterday, it's like I'm just on autopilot. I'm just doing what I was told to do. If you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know if you remember this, but you were my inspiration to my quitting drinking a while ago. I remember at a Christmas party, you said you got to stop that drinking. So you do a lot more than you think you do. You don't even know it, but you do.
I remember at that Christmas party, I remember seeing your face, and I was concerned because you didn't seem very upbeat or jovial, and you are always upbeat and jovial. So I couldn't quite put a fine point as to what was going on, but I think that had something to do with it.
And yes, and coming from you, I mean, that just says something, because you know how you get that face where you're trying to make a point, and I'm not one of your kids, but I see that, so I appreciate you, man.
Well, I care about you, and I wish you nothing but continued success. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up.
Appreciate it. All right, you have a good show, and then the tape, tell everybody I said hi, and appreciate it, man.
All right, Ryan. Thanks, buddy. Talk to you. There you go. The one and only Ryan Leister. He is Finn of your Grand Rapids Griffins. Finds a freaking treasure. Oh, my God. Oh, shit. I would have lost my mind. That is so cool. And seriously, there's all these coins and this chalice and this crazy ass. It looks like the Stanley Cup. I swear to God. And then a $500 bill. I don't know what I would have done. I would have lost my mind. That guy is a hell of an athlete, too. I've talked about this before. On skates with all of that gear as Finn, you won't believe how that little shit moves, man. Was a hell of an athlete. Is a hell of an athlete. And he can throw a hot dog from the ice. He's on the ice, and he's in the defensive zone, and there's that net, okay, to keep the pucks from hitting people in the face. Throw a hot dog all the way straight up into the air, over the net. Seriously, that's not easy to do. I would probably only be able to get the hot dog about 20 feet over my head. Thank you, Ryan. Okay, a lot more to talk about on the podcast. I kind of have just been all over the place here, and it feels good, too. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you to Brian Kelly. Thank you to JM Synthetics, who I want you to call upon for everything you might need. That is a lubricant. It could be a case of synthetic motor oil from AMSOIL. It could be any of the multitude of products that they have at jmsynthetics.com. And frankly, I haven't been there in quite some time. And products for your auto, light truck, motorcycle, ATV, UTV, snowmobile, marine outboard, personal watercraft, small engine, heavy duty. So much that they have for sale, and you can save money by being a preferred customer as well. They invented synthetic motor oil at AMSOIL, and if you are a DIY pro, I want you to call upon them, jmsynthetics.com. And when you buy anything from JM Synthetics, I will give you a record from my vinyl record collection. It's right over there behind me. All you do is say, hey, Zane, here's my receipt. I bought something from JM Synthetics. And then, seriously, I'll FaceTime you, and then you tell me what you want. Or I'll give you a list of all the records that, Van Halen, Diver Down, you got it. And then I'll mail you the record. Adam up north said, hey, I want that Nazareth Hair of the Dog, but will you sign it? So I signed the damn thing. I don't know. I guess he likes it devalued. But I'll even do that too. AMSOIL is, like I said, the first in synthetics, jmsynthetics.com. Buy something from JM Synthetics. I don't care if it's just one thing, and I will give you a record, a vinyl record, issued in the year that it came out. Very, very old, okay? Also, part of my shit kicker team, BK Guns and Stuff, 616-902-2447. Get your weaponry fixed, repaired, customized, upgraded, cleaned. They specialize in firearms transfers anywhere in the United States. You need info about how to get your firearm to BK Guns and Stuff. Call up Benjamin or Kyle at 616-902-2447 today for BK Guns and Stuff. While we're on the topic of guns, the last November CPL class is November 27th. That is the day after Thanksgiving. So basically, you spend the day with Steve Prince from Prince Arming, 616-204-1705. It happens at a friend of his residence where he has an awesome man cave barn garage. You're going to love this place. It's awesome. You're going to sit down. You got snacks. You got drinks. You got all the training you need. You're going to hear from a lawyer who's going to tell you right and wrong. This is all shit you have to do in Michigan to get your CPL. You don't even have to own a damn gun, by the way, okay, to take the class. Just get the class out of the way. The rest will fall into place. And then you've got an expert at your beck and call who you can bounce stuff off of about what to do, what to buy, who to see. You don't have a gun, doesn't matter, because you're going to borrow one of his for your range time. When you're there, he's going to show you how to handle a gun. Ladies encouraged to sign up, 616-204-1705. Get a group of ladies together and go, okay? The only way to carry a pistol concealed in Michigan is to take this class. You have to take this class in Michigan. All right. Man, I got so much more to talk about. This is awesome. I'm really happy. Like yesterday's podcast was actually lean. It was only like an hour and 20 minutes, and I heard from Zaniac Kevin in Muskegon. He's like, oh, my God, what's going on? And I'm like, what? The podcast was short. And I go, yeah, sometimes that happens. That was one of those days. I just blew through all my content. Okay. Eminem on Election Day is throwing his voice behind Joe Biden. And he's doing it by using that song, Lose Yourself, for an election ad. Okay, now, it's kind of a bummer because that song, I mean, seriously, it's one of the greatest songs ever written. The urgency of how that song begins, and then he's like, look, you got one shot. It's just, oh, God, it's just, That's like a really, really great song, and it makes you want to get up and be motivated. So I guess I could see that if he really wants to motivate the base and people who might be undecided about who to vote for, putting that song behind it, I can definitely see that. And well, frankly, if you take that song and put it behind anything, any type of video, you're going to want to do be the best at it. Like if you have shot a video with that song, Lose Yourself, and it's basically a guy sitting there around the house and he's not sure about what to do. And, cut to a shot of the toilet and then him walking through the house with urgency. I mean, that is going to be the most impassioned dump that anybody has ever taken. If you use the song Lose Yourself, you can put that song to anything. Dog grooming, and you're going to be the best dog groomer ever. I'm only saying that because I see a dog in my periphery. So it doesn't matter what you do. If you put that song behind anything, it's going to be absolutely incredible. And he's never done this before. Eminem has never, ever dove into giving one of his songs to a candidate. He's not exactly, I think he's always supported Democratic hopefuls, which is polar opposite of Kid Rock. I wonder if when these guys get together, Kid Rock and Eminem, because they've collaborated before and they kind of like have their careers have grown at the same time. Eminem is quite a bit bigger than Kid Rock, but still, if they get together and they actually, if their politics causes any strife between them. So he's using Lose Yourself, the soundtrack to a new spot from the campaign. It's a 45-second get out the vote push that just arrived, released online early Monday. The ad, titled One Opportunity, features black and white footage from locales across the U.S., including Detroit, and a recent Biden visit to the Michigan State Fairgrounds. I wonder if it's like you hear the beginning of Lose Yourself and then
True and international effort to pressure.
You can maybe work that in at some point.
True and international effort to pressure.
Will you shut up, man? Listen.
I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true and international effort to pressure.
You could probably work that into the lyrics.
True and international effort to pressure.
The ad is interspersed with the message, vote, amid the familiar urgent beat of Lose Yourself. In providing his song to the campaign, Eminem is essentially giving his official endorsement to Biden and Kamala Harris. Did I say that right, Kamala? I want to make sure, because if you don't, people hate you. The rapper certainly hasn't been shy about politics throughout his career. He bashed President George Bush with the 2004 song called Mosh. Or he famously bashed Trump on freestyles and album tracks. But the Biden ad marks the first time the 48-year-old, God, that sounds incredible, 48-year-old Eminem has licensed one of his songs to a political candidate. And indeed, one of the rare instances Eminem has granted a clearance for any type of outside use. Isn't it? This article goes on to talk about how artists have been just pissed off for a long, long time whenever a candidate uses their song without like asking permission or getting like the approval. And I don't even know how that is a thing. I mean, if a candidate is walking on stage to a crowd of people, like at last night's super spreader event, if Trump walks on stage to like Born in the USA, I mean, how is that? How can you be sued for that? I mean, you're basically just blaring music while you're walking out. It isn't like it's an ad. It's just the music that you walk out to. So I'm not sure if that's even a thing, but artists actually have filed official cease and desist formal orders against Trump. Hang on. They include Trump playing the Rolling Stones, Neil Young. Oh, my God. I bet you that guy's head exploded when Trump walked out to Rockin' in the Free World. Oh, my God. Phil Collins, John Fogerty, and Eminem collaborator Rihanna all filed formal cease and desist orders. And if Trump wins, okay, if I'm Trump and I win, I come out with the Neil Young song. I come out and I actually have somebody dressed up like Neil Young. And because I love causing trouble and I love being a troll. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so happy that I have won. Thank you, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Thank you Thank you. Here's Neil Young rocking in the free world. I actually do that. Here's the Rolling Stones, and they'd all believe it too. You know, they're going to be delirious with COVID, so you can pull that off. Biden's "Lose Yourself" clip follows recent shows of support for Trump by rappers such as Lil Wayne, Kanye West, and 50 Cent. Although 50 has since walked back his endorsement. All right. So that's that. Polls are open. I don't know if we're going to know today what's happening. Usually, I think Florida is done at 10 or 10:30. And that's huge. You know, a lot of people say that if the way Florida goes is the way the election goes. So hopefully by bedtime, if Florida, if you know who's going to win Florida, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to know who's going to win the election. Michigan and Wisconsin, I think, are later on in the night. The polls don't close till a little bit later. And those are key states: Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, believe it or not, Florida. There's actually 12 or 13 battleground states that are like, oh, boy, we don't know. We're not really sure. I'm just going to be happy when it's all done to be able to breathe a sigh of relief. And I just hope it all works out. There is a Karen in the news, but I don't know if I necessarily am hating on this Karen. This comes to us from a TikTok video. Not sure where it comes to us from, but apparently these kids were at a store, and some lady pulls into the handicap spot, and she gets out of her car, and she doesn't have like the placard in the rearview mirror. And so, well, these kids that are in the car, teenagers, start giving her shit about parking in a handicap spot, or made a comment to her, said something terrible to her. Well, she gets pissed off, and she's getting into her car when that all happens. And she follows these people in the car, and she's motioning them to roll down their window. And then all these kids, they know what's coming. Let's make a video. Let's get famous. And they start recording this lady, and she's screaming at them because they were giving her shit about parking in a handicap spot. Okay, so let me just play the audio, and then I'll discuss it a little bit more. She's screaming at these three kids in the car.
You little fucking cunt. You think you can talk to people like that and get away with it, you little bitches? I have severe nerve pain, and I hope it happens to you someday, you little bitches. I could fucking cream all of you, even with all my nerve pain. You fat fucking bitch.
We're fat?
Yeah, you.
Did she say I could cream all of you? Is that what I heard? Hold on.
I have severe nerve pain, and I hope it happens to you someday, you little bitches. I could fucking cream all of you, even with all my nerve pain. You fat fucking bitch.
We're fat?
Yeah, you. You're fucking fat, and you're a fucking ugly little fucking mutt, and you have a big fucking nose.
You have a big fucking nose. So they just laugh in her face and drive away. I don't know if you saw someone, okay, if it's you and you see lady getting out of her car at a handicap spot and she doesn't have anything to indicate she should be in a handicap spot. Do you say anything? I don't, because, she might have forgotten it. And she probably really does have something wrong with her, just because she isn't getting out and getting into a wheelchair or with crutches or morbid obesity or something like that. That doesn't mean that someone isn't allowed to park there. It could be she actually is in a lot of freaking pain. So, in my opinion, the people, all the chicks in the car shouldn't have said anything, because you don't know. We don't know all the facts. So I'm kind of with the Karen in talking that way to the fucking kids. So I don't know if it's necessarily a big deal. I might have done the same thing. I mean, you guys know me, man. You rub me the wrong way and I start to flip out, and it's tough to shut it down. So she was pissed. I will post that at ericzaneshow.com at In the News. And I'll also put it in the show notes. You can check it out. Did you yesterday look at the kid with the broken ankle? Oh, my God. Oh, boy. Hard to believe that 1 week removed from me saying, holy shit, I can't believe that guy just broke his legs. I can't believe it's because he's so fat. And then here I am apologizing the next day, saying go to his GoFundMe. 1 week later, I've got another Muppety flippity leg break video for you. Yeah, check this one out. It's great. Incredible. Football announcer Joe Tessitore is a pretty famous guy. You may not have heard of him. If you follow college football, you know that he called the Boston College Clemson game on Saturday, which Clemson had to come back to win. They were without their star quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, who's recovering from COVID. And so they ended up coming back and winning, Clemson did. But Boston College had them dead to rights before Clemson came back. And this moment was kind of cool. It is the lead announcer, Joe Tessitore, the play-by-play guy, is calling the game. And his son, John Tessitore, plays for Boston College. And he doesn't have a big role with the team. In fact, in this play, Boston College was lining up to kick a field goal. And his son, John Tessitore, is the holder. So hike it to him, put the ball down, laces out, Finkel, kick. That's what's going to happen. But they've called a trick play, kind of. And in the trick play, the holder, Tessitore, John Tessitore, lines up as the quarterback, and the kicker lines up as a receiver. So everything goes haywire in an instant. And they all move very, very quickly. And while that happens, Clemson jumps offside, which is what they wanted to do. They thought if they made it look like they were going to do this trick play that Clemson might jump offside. They did. The play worked. John Tessitore was the focus of it. And so Joe Tessitore's dad is doing the play-by-play. First time his kid has ever stepped on a college football field. So this was a big moment for Joe Tessitore. And his son is doing... is key in the play. This is how it sounded.
Bumeri on for the 40-yard field goal attempt. As they split out, Danny Dalton's a fake. Tessitore is under center on 4th and 2, and he got him to come off sides. John Tessitore came up and played quarterback at the last second, and they may get a first down out of this. How about that on 4th and 2?
Okay, it's great, but he's too professional, okay? It's at that moment in time that you have to be unprofessional, and it's okay. You should have been able to be unprofessional there. He's like, okay, yeah, BC lines up. The holder is my kid. All right, oh, my God, my kid's lining up under center. Come on. Nobody fucking better touch him. Holy shit. Oh, he got him to jump off offsides. Holy shit, my kid's the next Joe Montana. Fuck you, Clemson. Fuck you. Yes, my son rules. That's what I would have done. Oh, my God. There's a reason why I wouldn't be working there. That is awesome. Joe Tessitore announcing his son, John Tessitore. Okay, I'll leave you with this. Free agent baseball player, pitcher for the Chicago Cubs, John Lester. Thank you, Mike Ball, for sending this story. I just love it. Baseball season has ended, of course, and the thought process is that the 36-year-old John Lester is not going to be with the Chicago Cubs anymore. They won't re-sign him. He'll be a free agent. Who knows if he'll pitch again? 36 years old. I don't know how much longer you're going to go for. But how crazy would it be to have this type of cash clout? He decided to buy beer for everyone that he came in contact with over the Halloween weekend at 4 Chicago bars. So basically, he announced on Twitter that this was happening, walked into the bar and would buy beer for the entire place to the tune of $47,094.90 from Friday to Sunday, he bought almost $50,000 worth of beer. He tweeted out the tab. It included a 34% tip, the same number he wore on his uniform. His Monday tweet comes on the 4th anniversary of the Cubs winning the World Series for the first time in 108 years. I cannot believe it took that long. He was the co-MVP of the National League Championship Series that October. He wrote in the tweet, "Thanks for coming out this weekend, y'all. Yesterday, we added 1,372 Miller Lights to my tab, bringing our grand total to 4,838 beers. Shout out to all the bars or staff and those cheering from afar, whether this is goodbye or see you next year. I love you, Chicago." And he posts the receipts from each one of those. Was kind of brainstorming on what we wanted to do for the fans, Lester said on ESPN 1000 in Chicago on Friday. A couple buddies and I were talking, and we seem to always come back to this. He's considered one of the best free agent signings the city has ever had. Left more money on the table to sign a 6-year, $155 million deal with the Cubs before the 2015 season. My God. He left more money on the table to sign a $155 million deal? Oh, my God. I wonder what it would be like to suddenly you have that much money. I mean, he obviously had money beforehand. He was one of the best in the business, but still the dollars that we are talking about here. How does anybody who has that much money have any stress in their life? I have no stress when I find a fucking dollar on the ground. Can you imagine never, ever having to worry about money for as long as you live? Hopefully you don't live beyond your means. You know how often you hear about these guys that just spend it as fast as they can get it. It fucking makes me sick. I always hate that story where you see the pro athlete. He's like, he made hundreds of millions of dollars and he's like living under a bridge. Or he's living in his mom's basement. It's like, fuck, how could you possibly do that? That's an actual excuse to kill yourself. That's like, you know what? He killed himself. What did it say in the note? Well, he was pissed off that he blew 155 minutes. Like, yeah, I can see that. I'm with him. I'm on team suicide in that regard. I take that back. I can't even live with that joke. What a stupid thing to say. The Cubs turned down a $25 million option on his contract over the weekend, but the sides say there is still a chance he could return on a lesser deal. So there you go. John Lester. Very, very cool. Still, though, $47,000 after signing a $155 million deal. Can't you at least drop $1 million on him or something? I mean, come on. Folks, go out and vote. I hope you have a decent day. I hope everything works out in your favor. Isn't that what they say on the fucking Hunger Games? May the odds perpetually be in your favor or something like that. That's a reference you don't want to make. What the hell is wrong with me? At 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time today, I've got Smarter Than a Former Drug Dealer trivia. Dale taking on Philip. And then the Patreon bonus podcast a little later on. Okay, folks, have a good one. Talk to you down the road. Thanks for listening to the Eric Zane Show podcast. Thank you, Ryan Lester. Thank you, of course, to Brian Kelly. Have a good one, folks. Bye-bye.